Our next topic is diversity basically a new code name for affirmative action?
You know, it really ticks me off when I hear people say that. It annoys me to no end because they're like, well, now you're just saying it's diversity, but it's basically affirmative action. It's not. Affirmative action was about quotas. The old form of affirmative action was about quotas. It was about integration. It was about forcibly putting in people of color or women or people of other sexual orientations into a group, into a company, into a school because they were underrepresented. Diversity is completely different. Diversity is about making your corporation, your school, your business better by adding somebody with different strengths than your own. So if you're expanding out to Latin America, it behooves you to put someone who's from Latin America or someone who's Spanish speaking, and that's diversity. The Supreme Court just recently held, we talked about this before with the Supreme Court cases, but we were waiting for that case to come out, and they did hold that affirmative action is a no-no, diversity is a yes. They basically said if you want to bring students of diverse backgrounds into your student body so that other people can become acquainted with those different cultures, that's a good thing. If you're doing it strictly by numbers, we need a black person because we don't have one, then no.
Well, I think diversity basically by definition is the inclusion of people of different orientations, ethnic groups, genders, and so forth. And presumably the key there that it's voluntary. On the other hand, affirmative action was an effort, or is an effort politically, to make up for lost advantages, or put another way, the disadvantages that certain groups suffered, and require special action in order to try to bring them up to par to the level of other people. And that one had legal backing for it. Okay, you could be sued for it. Until recently, that was valid. Now it's not. So I think, in my opinion, that the only real difference is one's voluntary and the one is mandated, even though the purposes aren't necessarily the same.
Well, I agree. I think that they are certainly two distinct things, but that is spoken as attorneys. Okay, I think that for the rest of the world, they kind of are the same. I think that people see diversity and affirmative action as sort of being synonymous, and they don't see the difference, except, as you mentioned, affirmative action is really kind of has its roots in the civil rights laws and is about remedying past wrongs. It's targeting disadvantaged groups and quotas and all of that. Whereas diversity is more inclusive. It's about inclusion, and it is not exclusive. It's not limited to a particular race or a particular group of individuals, but it has a much broader perspective, and it includes disabled people, for example, and veterans. I mean, that's what it means to have a diverse workforce, and it's about benefiting companies and not about just really looking to fill a gap of a particular set of ethnic or racial groups. So
absolutely,
yes.
I think one of the things, though, that may make it sort of a meaningless distinction is that the demographics of the United States are changing so much that I think we're right around the corner from, for example, Caucasians being the majority race in the United States. They're about to become the minority in a decade or so. So, white people at that point in time will be the minority, and the question would be what rights or anything should be they be entitled to if things were on a different footing. So I think that the distinction, if any, really starts disappearing in the next 10, 15 years.
Well, I disagree because both affirmative action and diversity, the discussion was really about how can we get underrepresented groups to get to a point in our society where they're no longer underrepresented or where they're no longer disadvantaged. White men are never going to get to that point. And the reason for that is because white men or white people have already had such a head start. Okay, not so much white women, I think, because white women are still underpaid in certain circumstances and they're still unrepresented in a lot of areas. Yes. But white men are never, ever, even if they're a minority in terms of numbers, they're never going to get to the point where they're underrepresented. Because the people who are at the head of the universities, the people who are at the head of corporations and companies, the lawyers, the doctors, the numbers there are still primarily white men.
Absolutely.
That's very narrow-minded of you.
It's not. You're still a privileged class.
I'm a privileged.
Absolutely,
Listen,
white men are still in a very privileged class. They are.
Just given time. If you're a minority, given time, the majority is going to take it. So
Okay, but that will not make you the underdog by no means. I mean, look
How
at
do you know
look
that?
at the top
How do you
CEOs
know what it's gonna be like in 30 years?
of the Fortune 500 companies. There's still only 24 women. 24 of the Fortune 500 companies are 24 of those CEOs are women.
And what were they?
Okay?
What were they last year?
I think it was 20.
And,
I think
what
we just
will it be, and
we
what
just
will it
went
be
up.
next year?
I don't know, but
You're gonna reach
but
parity.
it won't be
I mean,
90% minorities. I'll tell you that.
And how long is it
Climate
CEOs of
change
500
is
companies
here.
will not
We're
be
gonna
all
have
minorities, no matter what.
parity. I'm telling you right now.
Moving
I
on
know
to the
these
next
things.
topic. Moving on to the next topic.